The emerald ash borer is very invasive.
Learn how the city is combating this harmful beetle. Discover how you can ease the burden of raking with this city service. Plus, heavy rains cause high waters. Learn how mitigation efforts did against the rising river. And learn how putting these things down the toilet can cause a big and costly problem. Finally, the old Capitol is transformed into a work of art.
It's art and expressions. Oh, it's beautiful.
And it all starts right now on this edition of Iowa City in Focus. A tiny pest, no bigger than a grain of rice, is wreaking havoc on urban forests all over the U.S. Iowa City is no exception, and the Forestry Division has been working to combat the emerald ash borer through a series of different steps.
Once it's there, it's probably been there for 4 to 6 years, and it's already got a footprint.
Unfortunately, the spread of emerald ash borer is seemingly inevitable and very quick.
We can lose 50 to hundreds and hundreds of trees a year.
Let's start with how it got here. The emerald ash borer, or EAB, is an exotic beetle native to Asia. It was first discovered in the U.S. in 2002 near Detroit, Michigan. Experts believe the beetle most likely arrived on solid woodpacking materials from a cargo ship or airplane. Since then, it has spread to more than 33 states, including Iowa. It was first detected in the Hawkeye State in 2010. Currently, 65 of Iowa's 99 counties have a confirmed infestation, and according to DNR officials, it will continue to spread until it's in all 99 counties.
It's just a matter of time.
It's not that the beetle itself travels great distances, rather it hitchhikes.
It can move through firewood, could jump on trucks, trains, all kinds of different things. So humans, we're the ones that are actually moving it, because it only flies probably 1 mile to maybe 3 miles a year.
So why is the city just now talking about this? Well, we're not.
City forestry staff stopped planting ash trees back in 2004 once we learned about this beetle.
The department stopped planting ash trees nearly 15 years ago, but to this day it's still the second most common tree in Iowa City. And as expected, the beetle eventually surfaced here. In 2014, an adult beetle was found on the property of a private residence. There were no signs of feeding or reproduction though, so it wasn't declared an official infestation. That didn't happen until 2 years later in 2016, when it was confirmed in a group of ash trees on the University of Iowa campus.
Since then, we have been seeing more ash trees that are infested, and we have been seeing signs and symptoms of infestation.
So how can such a little beetle cause such a big problem?
It's small but quite destructive.
The real problem isn't caused by the adult beetles, but rather during its life cycle. The eggs are laid on the outside of the bark where they hatch. The young larvae then burrow underneath the bark, and that's where the invasive bug begins causing problems.
It feeds on the vascular system of the tree and disrupts the transpiration of nutrients.
Without the ability to properly transport water and nutrients to its limbs, the tree begins to die off.
You can think of it as like tiny little holes being poked into your veins and not being able to get blood and oxygen to your limbs.
Take this ash for example. These pictures were taken by our forestry staff while checking out a tree on Davenport Street that showed signs of an infestation. It's rare to actually witness the beetle exiting the tree like this, but it always leaves a distinct mark that is easy to recognize.
There was a beetle inside there. It emerged as an adult, and the shape of the adult's head makes that classic D shape on the outside of the bark.
These marks aren't nearly as graphic as what has taken place underneath the tree's protective layer.
When we peel back the bark and we see these S-shaped or serpentine galleries, that's basically where we see the larvae feeding on the inner cambium layer of the tree.
It's estimated that the beetle first entered our community about 5 years ago, which would explain why not many trees have died off yet.
And there isn't much loss at all, because it takes a pretty good large population to really start losing trees quickly.
But year after year, the beetle continues to reproduce and grow in numbers, causing more and more issues.
We say it's just starting here, but it's more than just starting. If we've got trees already dying, we're in that 5 to 10 year range now. In the next 5 or so years, we're gonna see some pretty massive death. So if the city doesn't react, they could end up with hundreds and hundreds of dead trees all over the place. So they have to actively stay on top of it.
So the city is using its recently completed database to check on high-risk trees. From the ground, this ash doesn't look too bare, but an eagle-eye view provides a different picture.
a thinning of the crown structure or the upper canopy of a tree, and it's looking like it's defoliated or doesn't have a lot of leaves, that is one sign and symptom.
And to make up for the lack of growth up top, the tree will try to compensate.
Epicormic growth, or offshoots of exponential growth at the kind of mid-level of the tree, that really tells us that something is stressing out the tree and it's trying to grow as much leaves as it can to try and stay alive and make photosynthetic material to stay alive.
When staff identifies a tree with emerald ash borer, they are taking no risks.
We check those to confirm if they are infested. If they are, then we do remove those.
One might wonder, why not wait until a tree completely dies off before taking it down?
When they're completely dead, the thing with ash, it's a very brittle wood. And once they die, they become a risk pretty quickly.
We look at safety first and foremost. So it becomes a public safety hazard when those trees are still in the air with large limbs that are dead.
Another option the city is looking into is treating the trees before they are infested.
There are chemical treatment options to potentially preserve healthy ash trees.
So they can use that as a stopgap to kind of slow the loss.
But this kind of treatment cannot reverse any damage that's already been done.
The common misconception is that chemically treating these trees will help grow back dead material or dead branches. That is not the case.
The last step the city is taking may be the most important. Replanting at nearly twice the rate as trees are being removed, the city is taking steps towards a healthy future.
Our goal is to replant the urban forest with a more diverse mix of tree species so it's more resilient when the next tree pest comes along.
You may be wondering, what can I do to help? As we mentioned, the spread of EAB is mostly caused by humans. Firewood is believed to be the most common way this beetle gets around, so remember,
burn it where you buy it.
Keep an eye on the health of any ash trees on your property. Watch for the signs of the emerald ash borer and get a professional opinion if you have any concerns. And remember, this infestation affects us all. People like Mark and Zach got into this business to protect our natural resources, not harm them.
What motivates me and why I made the decision to make this my profession is for my love of trees. I've spent half my life trying to learn about, understand, and better care for trees.
But faced with the spread of the EAB, reality can be a tough pill to swallow.
If we already have the borer, we're already starting to see loss, the ball is already rolling, so they're going to continue to lose trees.
By being vigilant and planning for the future, we hope to face this issue head on and ensure a stable future for our urban forest.
You know, we have the great responsibility and honor of being able to care for our trees, and I love trees, and so does this community, and they are a great resource, and that's why our work is important.
Here are some collection tips that can help our customers participate more easily at the curb, as well as help our staff collect materials efficiently. It's very important to make sure that there's proper spacing between your carts at the curb, and we recommend you maintain about 4 feet between carts. The proper spacing is important between carts to make sure that our truck's automated arm can actually grab on to the cart and properly empty it into the truck. We recommend that our customers do not overfill their carts or pack them too tightly. The test is, can you close your lid completely? If not, it's too full. If your cart is packed too tightly, then that can make it so your materials do not properly fall out of your cart into the truck and that they're not properly emptied on your curbside recycling day. If you have additional bags of trash, we're happy to accommodate that. You can purchase additional refuse stickers at a few different locations in town. We sell them at City Hall, participating grocery stores, as well as Ace Hardware. Once you purchase the sticker, place the sticker on additional bags of trash and set them directly next to your cart on your curbside pickup day. For larger items that do not fit in your cart, such as appliances, mattresses, or other large furniture items, these items can be picked up at the curb, but we do require an appointment. To make an appointment, you can call our resource management main line and we'll get you all set up. The city has enacted a cardboard ban at the landfill, which means that you can no longer place cardboard in your regular trash. It does need to be recycled. You can recycle cardboard through your regular curbside collection bin, or you can take it to any recycling drop-off site in Iowa City. By following these simple tips, you can help our Iowa City community reduce waste, as well as help our staff collect your organics, recycling, and trash every week.
While it's a beautiful time of the year, fall also marks when trees begin to drop their leaves. The city runs a program that makes it easier for you to keep up with the constant task of raking. The leaf vacuum program offers a convenient, efficient way to deal with fall foliage.
The purpose behind our leaf vacuum program is to allow our residents to rake the leaves to the back of the curb, and then we would pick them up and dispose of them. That way they do not have to rake them into a yardie or a bag.
Here's how it works. The city is broken up into 7 zones. Leaf vacuuming begins on Monday, October 15th in zones 6 and 7, and will proceed in numerical order moving to zone 1 after 7 is completed. The process will repeat until the program ends Wednesday, November 21st. There are several ways you can follow along with the schedule.
You can follow our leaf vacuum schedule by looking on the website, signing up for e-subscription, and also calling their streets division.
The city also posts a schedule on our Facebook, Twitter, and Nextdoor accounts. While following the schedule is encouraged, it's also a good idea to be proactive.
It is important that you have your leaf piles prepared before we get there. The protocol would be don't wait, rake. Get it out to the back of the curb so that we can get it picked up.
When preparing your leaves for collection, there are some things to keep in mind.
You do not want to pile leaves further than 5 foot off the back side of the curb. Our hoses that we use do not reach that far.
At the same time, don't rake leaves into the street, as they may be washed into the storm sewer and cause flooding. The minimum size for one pile should be the equivalent of 1 paper yard waste bag.
Make sure that they are in sizable piles. Small piles slow our crews down.
These machines are designed to pick up leaves, so make sure that that's the only thing in your piles.
You do not want to have in miscellaneous objects such as larger branches or anything else that you might have in there.
And remember, if the hose can't reach the leaves, they won't get vacuumed. So make sure to keep the piles in open areas.
You also do not want to pile the leaves around mailboxes or signs.
If you use on-street parking, you'll want to be mindful of the leaf vacuum schedule. Where calendar parking is enforced, leaf vacuuming will occur on the side without parking. But even if there are no parking restrictions, be considerate of your neighbors and the collection crews.
It is also important for you to be aware of your surroundings. If there are leaves piled up at the edge of curb, it's important that you don't park there so that we can collect those leaves.
At the very least, parking in front of a pile will slow the crews down, and worst case scenario, it'll prevent the equipment from reaching the leaves. If you run into issues, the city can help by placing signs in your neighborhood.
If you live on a congested street where there's a lot of parking, please feel free to call the Streets Division. We'd be happy to post some no parking signs so that we can collect your leaves.
By following along with the schedule and preparing your leaves in advance, you should be able to take advantage of this great program. For more information, head to icgov.org/leafvacuum. We appreciate your help making this program a success.
Need a ride? If you're considering using a taxi or ride-sharing service, here are some tips to help you have a safe and enjoyable journey. Know who your driver will be and what car they'll be driving. Wait indoors until your driver arrives. Check that you've got the right car and be sure your driver confirms your name before you get in. Also, it's a good idea to be sure that the child safety lock is not engaged, so you aren't dependent on the driver to get out. Ride in the back seat. This allows you to exit the vehicle on either side and creates a more comfortable environment for both you and the driver. And don't forget to buckle up. Be aware of your surroundings during your ride. Follow along using your own GPS to be certain your driver is taking you where you want to go. You can also share your route and expected time of arrival with a friend or family member so someone knows where you're supposed to be. Trust your instincts. If you don't feel safe, get out or don't get in the first place. Finally, be kind and respectful. Respect the driver's vehicle and maintain appropriate behavior. You also have the right to be treated professionally and courteously by your driver. Safe travels.
Being properly prepared when disaster strikes requires comprehensive collaboration, clear communication, and effective leadership. Local emergency responders were put to the test with fall flooding, which provided an opportunity to put their training into action while evaluating recently completed mitigation efforts. A big part of emergency management is being prepared for anything.
Part of that plan for what ifs involves floods because we're impacted so frequently by them.
And Johnson County responders know just how quickly a flood situation can escalate.
And it just so happens that on the 10-year anniversary of the '08 floods, we're being tested again by Mother Nature.
And when Mother Nature decided to dump several inches of rain onto already saturated soil, area responders jumped into action.
Look at what the community members are going to need from us from an assistance standpoint.
The first step to getting a plan together is looking at the science. After the 2008 floods, the Iowa Flood Center, or IFC, was created to allow for a more local approach to hydraulic data.
We were very frustrated that we couldn't help. So when the legislators recognized that we have some expertise that is relevant to the safety of the people in the state, they put us to work, and we went to work.
Operating as part of the University of Iowa's College of Engineering, the IFC's main goal is to help Iowans understand flood risks and make better decisions in the face of an emergency. To do that, the organization operates and monitors 250 bridge sensors to measure stream height and creates flood prediction maps to share with the public. The need for that kind of localized technology is highlighted by the shocking number of major flood events our state has seen in the past 30 years.
We had nearly 1,000 presidential disaster declarations due to flooding. That is a staggering number.
The numbers the Flood Center was predicting is what prompted the opening of the Emergency Operations Center. This was done to gather more than 30 local, state, and federal agencies to get on the same page.
To get them on point, to get everybody focused on the problem at hand, to share information so we have a common operating picture.
And while both the federal and state agencies play a role, the action items are going to be on a more local level.
So whether it's Iowa City, Coralville, Johnson County, North Liberty, the coordination that has to go in has to start at home first.
That includes communicating road or park closures to the public, details on sandbagging sites, and, in more serious situations, evacuation information. Fortunately, this time around, residents were spared having to leave their homes behind, thanks to a much-needed break in the rain.
The river stayed lower than what was expected.
And while things could have been worse, it did provide a good opportunity to test flood prevention efforts our communities have put in place.
We invested this money on mitigation, what projects worked well, how well the design plans go, and where's our weaknesses.
One of the biggest steps taken is the Gateway Project, a more than $40 million effort to reduce flooding at Iowa City's busiest entrance. The plan raised Dubuque Street 10 feet, which was known as a problem area for flooding along the river. Crews also replaced and raised Park Road Bridge, which was flooded during the big 2008 event. If water levels were this high 3 years ago, Dubuque Street would have been inundated with water.
If that would have happened in 2014, the Emergency Operations Center would have been active for days. If the Gateway Project would not have been there, we'd have had to close Dubuque Street. We'd have already evacuated Mayflower Hall.
And this was the first time the nearly completed project was put to the test.
To have it function the way you wanted it to function with this event, definitely gratifying.
Another effort was to move Iowa City's wastewater treatment plant and turn the space into a wetland that can act as a runoff for Ralston Creek.
We were also able to consolidate our wastewater plant, and we have a wonderful park at Riverfront Crossings Park now that is functioning very well from a mitigation standpoint also. It's created some area for a backwater on the Ralston Creek.
And it's exactly these type of efforts that can help reduce the impact of future flooding.
So it would have been much, much different had the mitigation projects not been completed in Iowa City, in Coralville, and buyouts not have happened in the county.
Whether they're selling homemade crafts,
bracelets, bath bombs, and soap,
tasty treats,
Minnie loves the banana bread, mixed berry agua fresca,
or both,
lime, baked goods, and paintings. We're selling hats and cucumbers.
Kids Day at the Farmers Market is all about sharing your talents.
I sell bracelets and cards. It's something that I'm good at, and I think it would sell
These young vendors work to market their goods.
It has to be very showy. Like, I like tie ribbons around the banana bread.
And tap into creative outlets.
I have had a passion for making pottery for a while. I actually use my grandma's doilies. One, I get to bring kind of my grandma's memory back, and at the same time, it's kind of an artistic channel.
From creating a business plan to pricing goods, the kids get a feel for the business world.
It's a good learning experience because in real life, a lot of people are going to be having to sell things.
It's a chance to work together.
We both like slime a lot, so then we just decided to do slime.
And reap the rewards of their hard work.
I like getting money. The money? I don't.
We hope you enjoyed this year's event, but if you missed it, these future market vendors will be back again next fall.
It's fun. I definitely want to do this more often.
One of the city's dirtiest jobs happens right here at the wastewater treatment plant, and crews here are dealing with a growing problem that has to do with what people are flushing down the toilet. I know it's taboo, but we're gonna have to talk toilets to address a problem happening in Iowa City. Flushable wipes, personable wipes, intimate cleansing cloths, call them what you like. To Tim Wilkie, they're a pain in the butt.
Just remember, anything you flush down the toilet ends up at the wastewater treatment plant.
I know what you're thinking. It says flushable right on the box. Well, they do go down the toilet. But that's where the trouble begins.
Flushable wipes a lot of times are bonded by synthetic agents, typically polyesters. This polyester fiber does not break down in the sewers.
These synthetic, plastic-based products don't break down the same way as an organic material, such as toilet paper. Let's head to the lab to learn more. For this experiment, we will put 3 of the leading brands of flushable wipes, as well as toilet paper, into bins of water to see how they disintegrate. We'll let the magnetic stir sticks do their thing and we'll check back in a bit. The city attempts to catch unwanted materials that come through the sewer during a couple of different steps. Before we get too far, I should warn viewers that images from here on out may get, well, gross.
It's a dirty job.
The first line of defense are the 17 lift stations spread out across the city. These use large baskets to collect materials that flow through the 300 miles of sanitary sewer pipes in Iowa City.
What the basket does, it collects floatable material that's in the waste stream coming from the sewer system that would not necessarily be biodegradable within the treatment plant.
Twice a week, these baskets are emptied in an effort to keep items like wipes from causing problems.
If it's allowed to go downstream, it has the potential to cause blockages in the collection system itself and could plug up the pumps as well.
And that could lead to backups in your home, which nobody wants.
Ew, yuck.
Let's all take a moment to thank Josh for his work. But it doesn't stop there.
We don't always catch everything in the basket.
What fails to get gathered at the fill station flows here, the city's wastewater treatment plant. Nearly 10 million gallons of wastewater is processed here each day. The water is run through a screen that is designed to capture the remaining solid materials.
Floatable materials gets caught on the screen. Then we have a rake that comes down on a track system, comes down and grabs some material, pulls it up the top, and then dumps it into a hopper.
I wonder what the most common material collected is.
I'd say the bulk of it is flushable wipes.
At this point, you might be saying, so what? That's what the wastewater treatment plant is for. The problem is, you and I are the ones footing the bill.
There's increased maintenance costs because of the flushable wipes. State is tax dollars.
Not only does that mean more work to be done by the employees at the treatment plant, but costly breakdowns can also occur.
If it gets through the screens and gets into the system, there is opportunity for it to get into a pump. Then the pump can overheat, causing damage to the bearings and to the pump itself.
Let's go back to the lab for the results of our experiment. After an hour in water, the toilet paper is completely diluted. The flushable wipes, on the other hand, are either still in big chunks or entirely intact. So remember, just because they go down doesn't mean they break down.
They just don't break down as they're advertised. Yeah, you can flush them down the toilet, but they usually end up in a basket, usually end up at the treatment plant, where we end up having to screen them out.
So if you can't give up your flushable wipes, toss them in the trash to save us a lot of trouble and tax dollars. And there's no buts about it. Sticking with the organic stuff is the best option.
As it is, toilet paper is the only material which will flush and will break down in the collection system.
Picking the correct bike for your needs is extremely important. There are many different styles to choose from, so let's take a look at some of the most common. Road bicycles are designed for smooth pavement. They are great for commuting to work or long-distance recreational riding. As the name would suggest, mountain bikes are designed for riding rough off-road trails. These are mostly designed for recreational use, though they can also be used for commuting as well. One of the fastest growing trends in cycling is the e-bike or electric bike. Simply put, an e-bike is an electric pedal-assisted bicycle. These are adjustable so that the rider can choose how much assistance he or she gets from the motor. Recumbent bikes continue to grow in popularity. These feature long, low designs with supportive seat and backrest. They can come in a 2-wheel and a 3-wheel design and offer one of the most comfortable options. Recumbents are more difficult to get up hills, so you'll want to consider your route. Adult trikes are perfect for people who may have balance issues or other special needs. They are safer to ride for those who still want to get around under their own power. Finding the correct bicycle is one of the most important parts of safe riding. So make sure to do your research, ask questions, and take a test ride to find the right bike for you.
Built in 1840, the old Capitol building is central to our state's history. It was the site where the Iowa Constitution was crafted and where the first governor of our state was inaugurated. For those very reasons, this building and our city were chosen to represent the state during a unique art display that's making its way across the country.
People have time to look at the static LiDAR projections and to think about the history and the future.
Gary Hofstetter is described as an international light artist. That's a title he, well, doesn't really like.
People are saying, I'm a light artist. I'm just Gary. I'm using light and colors. Light is hope and colors are joy of life.
Hailing from Switzerland, Gary's been all around the world to showcase his art. He and his team have projected images onto national monuments, historic buildings, even icebergs. His current project is a tour of the United States.
So you have 50 states and it's 380 times bigger than Switzerland. So it takes me about 3.5 years to do all these things.
That means only one location per stop.
Each state we selected one monument and I'm bringing the history of the monument outside on the building.
Between our rich history and being home to the University of Iowa, Gary knew Iowa City was the place to bring his light art tour.
And Iowa City, the old capital, immediately took my attraction.
And being selected was a real treat for those who got to experience the show.
I think it's really neat how out of all the buildings he chose the old Capitol.
Iowa City, the original capital of Iowa. Everything here says Iowa. You know, the downtown area here is one of the best, I would say, in the entire state. So it's really cool to see the old Capitol highlighted like this.
Being a UNESCO City of Literature also gave Iowa City a tie to Switzerland.
Intellectual, creativity, reading, thinking, that's all what our country is also doing. That's why I selected this old Capitol building in Iowa City.
We're all about the arts and the culture, and so bringing the art here and bringing it so fresh, so live, in your face, that's really what we're all about. There's so many creators and storytellers.
The images displayed reflected our ties to art, showcased history, and provided a long-lasting impact.
This gives the audience and the spectators such a peaceful feeling for a moment. Then when they go home the next day, they come back and passing these monuments, they see, that's right, from here we belong.
I think it's really cool how you can change the old Capitol into a different building.
And for one evening, it truly did transform the building, leaving each spectator with a favorite moment.
I saw quite a few highlights from Iowa City and stuff like that I recognized, which was kind of cool. I actually liked the one they had the picture across the bridge with the power plant.
Just now they did Frankenstein, and it's the 100th anniversary of the Frankenstein book, so yeah, that's pretty cool.
Animal. The animal?
And even though the light display only lasted an hour, those memories will return each time they pass the old Capitol.
And they will just get that feeling, wow.
Bringing that to Iowa City and knowing that Iowa City is on the map and that they wanted to share this whole experience with Iowa City, it's truly amazing.
As Gary moves on to another state, he's taking with him an expanded vocabulary.
I learned a nice word today, Iowaness, is that correct? Iowaness?
Iowaness.
You are Iowaness, I'm Garyness.
Next time on Iowa City in Focus, we take a final trip on the city park rides and look forward to exciting new options for the future of the park. Thanks for watching our show. We hope you join us again next time for another exciting episode of Iowa City in Focus.